Okay. So as of yesterday, this is where we are at. I mean, generally, this is where we are at. So the business requirements, I'll go over them very quickly. We have done these sales analysis where we are required to perform a comprehensive analysis of sales data. So the first requirement being that we should summarize total sales revenue. That is the first thing we did. And this is our figure. And the second one was that we should analyze sales performance by salesperson. We have also done that. This is the table for it, and we've got this visual to show for it. The third being to identify top selling and low performing products. We have also done that. We started with, so we've done, this is the top 20, and these are the bottom 20, you know, these two tables. So that has been done. And we also calculated the average time taken from order placement to shipment. So our order processing time, that was done as well. And we calculated that as 1.92 days. That's the average of our order processing time. Analyze the distribution of orders across different order priority levels. So this is what we found. This is the table for that. These are the priority levels. Just renaming that priority levels. These are the number of orders which we found by counting the order IDs that fall into each category. And we made this chart for it from that table, okay? We were also asked to assess the impact of different ship modes on our order fulfillment. And this is what we found. Average time for each delivery mode. We found the average time of each to be so. This is not relevant because we're looking at sum of sales here. So this is not really relevant. Okay. As of yesterday, actually, this is where we stopped yesterday. And as of yesterday, what we did was not, let me show the field list. What we did yesterday was not the average. We actually had sum of each. So if I check that back to sum so that it looks like exactly what we had yesterday, and I would okay that. Okay, so what we had yesterday was the sum. So we saw that for delivery truck, we've got all of that as a total number of days. For express air, we've got that. For regular air, we've got that. But that's not really capturing the essence of it because it's in sum. Most of the time, using statistics like average helps a lot, more so because we have found the overall average of our order processing time. We can always, change this to average as well. That's where we can compare each delivery mode, each average time for each of these delivery mode with the overall, and sort of make a better a better inference, so to say, make a better judgment is the right word, from that. So instead of using sum, I'm changing this from here. So I press on the down arrow and I go back and change it to average. And I'm doing that because, one, because we've got an overall average that we can use as benchmark to compare how each of these is doing against the general. And also because statistically, averages are a better way to look at, to compare things, more than the sum, more than the overall sum in the context that we are doing it anyway, And we can see that comparing with 1.92, which is the overall average processing time, delivery truck is a little below that. So which is not too bad, is 1.90. Express air is 1.83, further below, which is good, So it's a lot below the average that we have for them all. But regular air says 1.94. That is a little bit above the general. But it's not too, each one of them are not too far off, you know, so they're not too far off, but we can see how they rate compared to the general overall average order processing time. And yesterday we were talking about how do we look at the shipping amount, you know. So if I take all of these out, I was just, you know, trying to spend some time with it yesterday to see how that would work out. So I would know how I'm explaining it in class. So that, but I'm taking that out now. Now we want to see, despite us having all these delivery average order processing times, okay, how do we then compare that order processing time with shipping amount and really see which of these shipping mode is the most effective, you know, for the business or even for the customers. And so I'm going to bring the order processing time back in, you know, which will change to average at some point. I'm also going to bring the shipping amount. Shipping amount. I'm going to bring the shipping amount back in as well. Okay. So if we change this to average, like we have here, you know, it helps to, you know, look at that in a better state. If you have any question as I'm, you know, explaining it, please feel free to let me know so that I don't just keep talking and it's not clear. Okay. So we can see that, okay, fine, delivery truck average processing time is 1.90. But the overall sum of shipping is 13,336.20. And for express air, 2,449.72. And for regular air, 12,644. But still, it's not enough to judge to judge which is more effective, which is more cost effective for us. So this is where we will look at how many orders were used up, you know, for each shipping mode. For example, for delivery truck, how many orders actually added up here to give us that? Then for this, how many orders, you know, were involved? And how we know how many orders fall into each category is we count the order ID. So I'm going to bring the order ID in. At the moment, please mute when you come in. Please mute. So at the moment it's summing it. We don't need the sum of the order ID. We want to see the count. How many orders fall into each of those categories. Okay. And now we've got that. So 303 for delivery truck. So 303 orders, you know, cost this much throughout these data sets throughout the year 2017 that this data set covers. For express air, 264 orders, you know, cost that much. And for regular air, 1,586 orders, you know, cost that much. Okay. Now, how I would look at this if I was a business person is, okay, in that case, I want to divide this sum of amount, the total amount for the shipping mode. I want to divide it by the number of orders so that I can get an estimate of how much I'm being charged for every of the orders, you know, that were involved. And the way that that can be done is we divide this sum here by the number of orders, you know. So if we divide this by this, now I can't achieve that in the pivot table we are using straight away, just like that, because when we were making this pivot table, I clicked on a function where I said, add this to data model. So because of that, normally I would have been able to, divide this straight away by this under pivot table analyze, where it says field item set, So it would have allowed me to create calculated field here, where I can calculate another field by just dividing this by this, And this is why I said, each time you're doing your work, you have to be futuristic, what and what and what. In fact, you have to plan the work before you start it, So I didn't think this was planned ahead. This business requirement was thought of ahead. I would not have needed to click that. That is not to say that I can't go back and get it done. It only means I will get a new pivot table, for this particular work, but not to waste our time because we don't have the luxury of time. I've gone on to, and you can double check as well. I've gone on to use the calculator, to divide each one of them. And I arrived at this. So what I found was for each of the other under delivery truck, each order was charged £44.1. For Express Air, each order was charged for £9.27. And for regular air, each order was charged for £7.97. So if we use this reasoning, it is obvious that both regular air and express air, are cheaper for us to use. Considering many other factors within the business, of course, but using the context that we currently have, express air and regular air are charging us cheaper, are charging us smaller amount, for each of the orders, So it would be good to advise this business to go more, using express air and regular air as compared to delivery truck. Other factors being considered. Okay. Now,
I think Mr. Ayo's hand is up.
Okay, please go for it, sir.
Thank you, Sister Abby. I want to say that there's a very, very good reason why the cost of delivery is high. It's because we're talking about truck, and truck deliver in bulk. So so it does make business sense why it costs more, because why the express might not be able to handle more, and then the regular could be, those our normal van, who can only carry certain amount. And if you look at the way logistics happen, basically you have the truck that takes the huge number of the shipment to a certain location, whereby the normal van will now collect and then start distributing. So I think for me, looking at that, I think that it's just very logical for that cost to be high, because it means that it handles, those shipments in bulk, and it's
Thank
bigger.
you.
So
Thank you very much, sir. I love that contribution. And this is where, how we say that it's also good. You can't really help to analyze data until you understand the business that you are working with. If not, you'll just be playing with numbers, and text. So understanding how it actually works within the business that you are checking their data helps you to bring it all into context, because ordinarily, like I said, if we look at these figures, this is 44, this is this, this is that. But behind those, this 44 might actually be, like Mr. Ayo just said, what favors the business. Okay, but we won't know that until we understand how the shipping actually works for the business, how the business itself works, that way we can put, all of this into proper context. And we cannot know our business that we work for, the organization, well, we don't go back to keep asking questions. We can't afford to make assumptions, So we have to keep going back to ask them questions. Thanks so very much for that. I was going to say that I tried to put this together yesterday, and I'm going to quickly start and try and show you, what I've done, and how this was formatted. You do not have to use the colors that you see here. It was just me trying to put something together to show us how we can achieve a simple dashboard with what we've got so far. So I'm going to create another page now so that we build our own. Okay.
It's very beautiful.
Oh, thank you. So the first thing I did, and you don't have to do exactly what I've done, make it come out the way you want it to look. Okay. So the first thing I would normally do, I don't like, for my dashboards, I don't like to have these grid lines. So I go on to remove the grid lines first so that I have a plain background, to play with, Then going by the color, the background color that I've chosen is gray, So I'm just going to highlight the parts that I want to use, and color that gray, go into my home, and choose the color any color that you want, Most of the time you would work according to the color theme that's used at work, the organization you're working for. Most of the time it happens that that's what you would do. But just for the purpose of our own practice, we'll go with that. And I did this to make it quick as well, because within 30 minutes, we wouldn't have been able to achieve this. Okay. Then we start to, so let me bring in this text. So let's see, how did we insert that text? So if we go to insert, and we go to text box here. So I'm going to click on text box, and it brings, this symbol here, which I will just drag down and use to draw my text box somewhere where you can put text. Okay. So, and I've called that 2017 sales data analysis, something like that. Okay. Just something to show exactly what you've done, to give us an information about, like a title, so to say. Okay. And because this is still highlighted, there's a lot of things you can do here. So if I go into shape format, if I click out, that shape format would disappear. But I'll click back in, and we've got the shape format where it's telling me to format it the way I want. Okay. So because I want it to be transparent, I'll say no fill. Okay. Okay, that's text fill. Where's the shape fill? Okay, you know what? I'm just going to do a lazy thing and just pick this for it as well. Then I'm going to highlight the text and make it as big as you want, So maybe 20 to make it bold enough. Just the normal, and I'll center that. Just the normal, formatting that you will give any text. That's what that is about, Then the top 20 products, you know what, I'll start with exactly the way we have it here. Okay. So the first thing we did was the total sales. So I'm just going to come here, Control C that to copy, come here and place it wherever I want. Maybe I want it to be somewhere, maybe somewhere here, and I'll Control V that, so that shows us the total sales. And then the next thing was analysis of the salespersons, their sales performance rather. Okay, so I'm going to actually cut this now because there is no need to double it up. So I'll Control X that to cut it, and I'll come and paste it somewhere here. Okay, so we've got that, and there's a lot of formatting that you can do to it. You can make it appear the way you want it to appear. Okay, the way I've made mine appear here, this is the one. So okay, I've called it salesperson sales performance. Okay, so if I put that title there, salesperson's Sales performance. Okay. I'll just move that up a little. Now, I don't want to have all these buttons. Okay, this total sales, this salesperson, I don't want it. I want to hide it so that my hide all value field, so that, immediately I hit that, we can see that there's more space for the bars, or for the columns rather, whatever they are called, there's more space for them to show, So that's that. Again, rather than have all these numbers here, this axis here, it's not really making sense, because for Miss Rosianna, I'm not really very sure what exactly is the sales that they brought in. So I can come into here, and decide that I want data label. Okay, I want data label. That is, I want each of the value for each one of these ones to appear on here. Okay, that's data label. I can click on data label. Oh no, that's data table. I need data label. And we can see the number for each already appearing, So how do I want it to appear? There's an arrow, and you can make your decision. Do I want a call out? There's more options here. I don't want to stay too long on one, so I'll just pick that one, but you can play around, as per what you really want. Now, because I've got data labels here now, there's no need for this axis to show anymore. It's not bringing any value to the table. Okay, so I'll come to axis and tell it to remove. Is it the primary? No, not the one. So it's the vertical one. Okay, so that is out of the way. Again, there's more space to play with. I can actually move this, move it the way you want, where you want it to appear. I can move it up a little. Okay. And I can also format what I have inside here. Okay, say I don't like the way it's not really bold enough, like I would prefer. I can change the font of it to Arial, I can change the size of it to maybe 10. I can bolden that up, and I can change the color of it to pure black. Okay, now anybody looking at that can see, they can see more properly. Okay, I wish like this works very well in Power BI. I wish that I could easily just copy the formatting and apply, because, okay, while this is chosen, I should be able to just, pick this paintbrush here and just apply it to, okay, it's worked, thank God. Okay, so that's a feature that helps you to save time. So say you have done a formatting on one item, you can use it to apply the same formatting on another. So I'm going to click on that, and now we have that, So if I don't want this axis, because already I've got Miss Rosianna, I've got their names on here, I've got the values they brought in on here. If I don't want this axis, I can always take it off, but what I actually want is for the names to be under here, but I only want the values, okay? So that we can play around. Okay, so we can play around, our options here. Let me see. If I go to more options and I tell it to not bring the category name, yes, that's the place. And I just want the value, okay? There's a whole lot of formatting, that you can do here. Say I don't want this shade of blue. I just clicked on one, but all of the bars have been picked. Say I want to change that color. Immediately I did that, there is a format here that's opened, okay? So the shape fill, I can change it to a deeper color of blue, I can do a lot of playing around with this. I can tell this, can decide that I don't want this white background, okay? So if we go into shape fill again, under gradient here, I can pick a different gradients, you know, whatever works for the way and the field that you want your data sets to have. Okay, so there you have that. You know, if this is too wide, if we come to the right-hand side here, we can see that I can decide to change this to maybe 6 centimeter, you know, 6 centimeter by 11 centimeter, maybe. Okay, so by 11 centimeter. And that reduces that a little bit so that there's space for you. Okay, and that's a very small lesson, very, very small lesson on how to format, you know, your dashboard. One thing I would like to talk about very quickly is, and all you then need to do is to just copy and paste each of the work that you've done here, whichever one you want to change into chart, you know, copy and paste, copy each of the charts and come and place them here, however wherever you want them to be. I will crave your indulgence for me to show you how to quickly get how to look through or filter through into your data set. Okay, say you want it to be interactive. Okay, so there's what we call slicers that we can insert. This is a type of slicer. Okay, so it just takes one of the columns within the data set and you can use it to look at interactions within your data. Okay, say I want to look at for container types, I want to look at maybe how this jumbo box did over a few of the charts here. If I click on the jumbo, okay, we can see that there's a bit of a change, you know, in some of the values. For jumbo, we have under not specified, we've got 21, 30, you know, but if I remove that filter, it goes back to the original. So it just helps you to filter and look through time. This is through different filters. This is called slicer, and this is the timeline, okay? We can also look through the timeline. In January, what happened, you know? So we see this, and this changed. The only ones that haven't changed are the top and bottom products. They are not interacting. If I don't want to look at January, if it's February, I can do that. For the other days, I want to see how the others did, you know, according to this chart for a particular time, okay? And if I want to remove the field, I want to unclick whatever it is I've clicked, I can always, you know, click on the funnel here to remove that filter. And how do we insert that into our data? So while you've clicked on either a pivot table or your chart, under pivot table analyze, we can get it. Under this pivot chart analyze rather, here are the two of them, insert slicer and insert timeline. So insert slicer would, you know, bring all the columns for you and you can look through to see, okay, I want to slice through sales performance and I want to check this by maybe order priority. For example, you can choose as many as possible, by the way, and by ship mode, let's choose 2, okay? So it brings those 2, you know, and if I click on a critical, we can see that under critical, this is how each one of them performed. Under high, this is how each one of them performed. And if I want to look at high for delivery truck, you know, okay, so if I want to look at high for delivery truck, we can see maybe low for express air, we can see. So that's how to make your dashboard interactive. If not the slicer, you can also use the timeline, and timeline is also under pivot chart analyze, and this is the timeline, okay? And it will go and pick on the dates the date columns that you have within your data. For us, we have order date, we have ship date. So if we click on both, if you want to look at, you know, the skeleton of your data within both order date and ship dates, you can always do that. And we can see the scroll bar here, you know, It's all within 2017 for order date, but for ship date, it was from 2017 to sometime in 2018 that, that it's got. So again, we can just look through. And each one, so if I click on a slicer, okay, let me remove that. Now let's click on a slicer. Okay, timeline. I'm clicking on timeline at the moment. And we can see the timeline tag here. So click on the timeline. There's a few things you can do. One of them is you can change the look, the design. If I want that to be my design to fit, the color theme that I've chosen already, we can do that. We can do the same for your slicer as well. So for slicer, you click on it, it brings a slicer here. And you can pick anyone, that works for you. One last thing around slicers and timelines is that if you don't think that your slicer is interacting with your chart, so if I click on this now, under slicer, there's something we call report connection, where any slicer that is not working with a particular table, you can come and connect it here. So at the moment, this is working with pivot table 2, which is why this is interacting. But if I had picked another pivot table, it wouldn't have worked with them because they are not clicked here. So if I want it to work with any of the pivot tables or the charts, I just need to come and, activate the connection here, click on there and tell it to interact with the tables I need it to interact with. And I believe the same goes for the timeline as well. The same report connection, and this is even clicked for each and every table there. And if you don't want it to interact with any table, you can uncheck it. That you don't need it for that particular table. You can uncheck it and okay that, and it wouldn't interact. So the rest is just you playing around the way I've shown how to do this. It's the same thing for each and every one of these. Play around, look into what you can do with each and every one of these. We'll see what it gives you there. You don't have to say, I will spoil it. No, you are not spoiling anything. It's your work, okay? If you want some pre-designed work here, if that's what you want to use, you don't want to design your own, why not? Go for it, Any questions? Sorry that I rushed this class, but the aim is to get you to be able to do something like this. The moment you are able to look at what we've done so far here, it's just repetition and you choosing the colors that you want, you can easily, achieve this as well. It's how I did this, that each and every one of these, were done just with different colors. Any questions? Is there anything that's not clear?
Thank